This is Frank Islam, Chairman and CEO of FI Investment Group and your host of Washington Current Review, where we interview leading voices from business and politics and explore topics of current interest that impact you, the viewer. Today, our guest is Samuel J. Levine, an immigration lawyer who has served the Greater South Asian community for more than 38 years. He will be discussing immigration issues. Thank you very much, Attorney.
Good to be
coming
here. Thank you for having me.
I really appreciated that very much.
Thank you for having me.
I've heard a lot about you, and that you have been serving the South Asian community for 38 years, which is a long, long time. Tell me a little bit about how you have been serving. What have you been doing for these people?
I do primarily immigration work and second opinions if they have their own attorney and they don't think it's going right. Many come to me and I give a consultation and encourage them to take that back to their attorney. Additionally to that, I've appeared in numerous events, and I must say that the South Asian community, to me, is the most interesting and vibrant in the world.
Well, thank you very much. Well, I'm sure our audience will love the word that you have used: vibrant, energetic, and optimistic. Those are the words you have used.
Yes.
Do you have prediction on an amnesty for undocumented foreign people?
I think it has to come. However, what must be dealt with first is the medical programs that President Obama has set forth, dealing with the two obvious wars we have in Iraq and Afghanistan, dealing possibly with a third front in Yemen, and I would say, please forgive me if you differ, audience, a fourth front in Iran. We also have troops.
Fourth front in Iran?
Yes, sir.
Possibly some people from there.
Possibly this could spill over into a really heated action. Right now, each of the wars is self-contained, more or less. But it could get hotter. The best strategy for the U.S., I just might add, is to try to make friends with people, train the military, and look for a speedy exit.
That's your wish.
That's my wish.
And that's a good thing to have for the lawyer, because you're going to have to be busy if those undocumented foreign people come to our shores. Well,
we need an amnesty.
Right.
We have, in my estimation, more than 10 million people, most of them productive, who have been in the United States for long periods of time. Some of them have grandchildren that were even born here, as well as their children. Based on the tenets, the pillars of the philosophy of the United States, we can't throw these people out. So who is kidding whom? My idea would be is to have a general amnesty. Last time it was a legalization program, except for people who have committed certain criminal acts, and at the same time tighten up our borders for security reasons, because the world is no longer as friendly as it used to be. And I think America has to do a deal with this. I think they will, but the question is when.
Good point. What are the trends in the current immigration law? What about immigration reform, while on the same topic?
That's the topic. There's talk in Congress, and talk is good, but there's no action.
No, you're absolutely right. There's no action.
And that's primarily because of the wars, the medical issues, and also our budget imbalance. And the last issue is people who are xenophobic of foreign people. And the truth of the matter is, if there were a magic powder that could spread over the United States that would eliminate anyone born outside the United States, the United States of America would almost instantly become a third world nation.
You feel that strongly about it?
Absolutely, and I think statistics prove it so. If you go to universities, you'll see professors, hospitals, you'll see top surgeons and physicians.
They're foreign-born.
Foreign-born.
As I understand, 20 to 30% of them foreign-born.
That's correct for foreign physicians and surgeons, but if you go into learning institutions, the statistic is a bit higher, closer to 40%.
Well, I strongly believe, and I'm sure our viewers believe, that we have to welcome the immigrants to our shores, but they must be well educated because they have to be productive in our country, and I'm sure you share, both of us share the same belief.
Yes.
Let me ask you, are there economic benefits from the undocumented foreign community in the U.S.?
Absolutely. First of all, the business that we pay foreigners less is rare and largely untrue. Second of all, the United States economy is mostly domestic based. As a result, that base, the larger we increase it, the better our ability to stimulate our economy. So I would say yes. And if you give these people legal status, many of them will start paying taxes who didn't pay taxes before, thus helping the government with its deficit.
So they will contribute, as you suggested, in terms of paying the taxes, being a good paying citizen.
That's correct.
Of this great nation.
That's right.
There's a lot of talk about H-1B visa. You hear in the Congress, you hear from the industries, and Microsoft and some of the industry has been leader in that. Why is there a quota for H-1B holders, and why there's a limitation to the number of years they may stay in the United States?
Well, the second question is easy, so I'll dispense with that first. H-1B is a temporary visa.
And how long is that?
Well, 6 years.
For
and
6 years?
Yes.
So you have to get your green card after 6 years?
Within 6 years.
Within 6 years.
Or go outside and wait and then come back. But if you're H-1B and you go outside the country to anywhere for 1 year or more, you're entitled to another 6 years. So the question coming back, which is really without an answer, how long is temporary?
They could multiply every 6. You can go back. You can go to a foreign country, come back, and there'll be 6 years. It can go
for
on
a year.
And on forever.
Yes.
For a year.
For a year. Yes.
It can go on for years.
Yes.
Many years to come.
Yes. And while they're here, I would suggest that they get a U.S. issued master's degree because that's a different quota. And
then the bachelor's, then the undergraduate degree.
That's correct. Now, why is there a quota? I think you have to look to Dan Rather and CBS.
That's an interesting thing I've not heard before. Dan Rather and CBS, and he's gone from CBS. He's somewhere else. So
that's
please
right,
let Dan Rather know what you have on your mind.
Well, it was he who did a lot of the research and the program for 60 Minutes, one of their shows, which showed that wheat-skinned people were taking over the jobs of pink-skinned people, and that wheat-skinned people were working for less. So immediately, there was a lot of embarrassment in Congress. The show was dispensed to every member of Congress in their own cassette, with the intent of, I think, of bringing in some limits on the length of the visa, as well as the amount of visas that could be issued. Keep in mind that prior to that law, which came out in 1990, Microsoft alone could have exhausted the quota. So if we're going to have a quota, why don't we have a quota that fits the marketplace?
Which could be in terms of millions, potentially.
I don't know about millions, but I would say triple the current quota.
So which will be what if they triple it? That'll be how many visas we're talking about here?
Just on bachelor's degrees, approximately 500,000.
500,000.
But you see, these people make jobs.
Create jobs.
Yes, they do.
You believe in it?
I've seen it time and time again.
Well, I'm not sure the Congress believes in that create jobs. Their take is because some of the people in the Congress are pro-union, so they take away job according to their philosophy. Obviously, you differ with that.
Considerably, for this reason. A lot of times companies want software programs so that they can enlarge their operations, and there's nobody available to do it. So it gets deferred, the company stays small, and so you have one highly educated person kept out of the United States who might have done that program, maybe, let's say 3, I'll call it 3, who might have made 500 jobs.
That high?
Yes, and while they're here, they're spending money and they're paying taxes. H-1Bs pay their taxes.
Compared to the undocumented workers who do not pay taxes?
Not all of them. I'd say approximately half of them, because immigration is getting stricter and stricter, and if you don't pay your taxes, you're denied a host of benefits. It's considered an act of moral turpitude.
That's the best way to describe it. Now, this year, the H-1B visa, as I understand, has not been exhausted. There's still H-1B visa available.
That's correct.
Is that because of our economy?
It's because of the world economy, yes.
Or is that because people don't want to come to our shores?
No,
they love to come to our shores.
Yes, they love to come to our
shores.
We have a great image in this country. It's not necessarily true what people think of how great it is, how easy it is here, how they can bring their 5 servants here, and how easy life will be here. We work here.
Yes, very hard.
Yes.
I can give that testimony to all of you, including the audience. I mean, your view is definitely very consistent with majority of the people in this country, and we have to make sure that Congress understands it so they can change the policies of this as far as the immigration is concerned. I'm sure the immigration reform will reflect some of the changes, some of your views you're talking about. How do abusive spouses protect themselves in immigration law, and particularly those whose spouses refuse to sponsor them?
That's covered, again, that came out in 1990 by the abused spouse route to permanent residency. If there's physical abuse or intolerable abuse, which may not be physical, I would say 911 is the best way at first. Reason being, you may get immediate protection, you may, if you're abused. And secondly, there's a record that a police officer was called to deal with abuse, which helps in the application. Now, all you have to show to qualify for the abuse is an affidavit concerning exactly what the abuse is. Second, and it could be physical, mental, sexual, any type of adjective that you can put before the word abuse will qualify. And I should add, before I go into greater detail, most of my cases on abuse are female, but some of them are male.
Which is surprising to me.
It was to me at first, but when I found out what had happened, I was not surprised. I would say 95% female and 5% male. One would have to show, first of all, that the abuse occurred. Secondly, that it happened within the past 2 years. Now, in the tertiary range, it gets a little difficult. Could be the abused spouse is thrown out of the house, but he or she still has to prove that the abusing spouse is either an American citizen or a permanent resident.
And if they are none of the above, then what happens in that case?
There's trouble. But I tell them to consider investing some money on the internet. You'd be amazed what you can pick up off the internet. And if that doesn't work, then the only route of choice is a permanent resident. I'm sorry, is a private detective.
Private detective?
Yes. Bank records.
Bank records.
They have access to.
Trying to build your case?
Yes. But once you prove the person is a is a citizen or a permanent resident of the United States, then the rest of the application is very, very easy.
Okay.
Even such things as marital counseling, but you have to prove it, and most marital counselors refuse to give the records unless both request it. But you can also use affidavits of people who may have witnessed the abuse, photographs of pictures if it's physical abuse. I could tell stories about abused spouses that could not be put on this program because it's so gross.
Mm-hmm. Is that about it?
Yes, and it's hard to listen to, and it's my very special delight when I'm able to get these people a green card and their hope for continuing into the future.
Well, tell us a little bit about our audience here in terms of the getting a visa if you create a job and pay $500,000, $1 million. What sort of a visa is this? And a lot of people taking advantage of that these days.
Yes, that's.
I guess you have to have the money in order for you to take advantage of that.
That's right. Or the money could be loaned to you from a reliable source. That's an investor visa, to answer your question.
Investor visa, that's
yes.
what it's called, okay.
However, you have to show the source of the funds. And if you're from a country outside of South Asia, say Somalia, where and Ethiopia, where a lot of records have been destroyed, you can't qualify even though you're able to do everything else. They just want to make sure they're not laundering money and giving a green card in exchange.
So you create a job. So what happened to that capital? What happened to that principal? Is it protected, or does it grow? Do you get interest on it, on your investment?
No, you have to create 10 jobs,
okay.
10 new jobs. So
okay.
if it's a company that's been in existence that's had 30 employees, your investment would have to make it 40 employees. It's not like a bond or a stock, for sure. It has to be at risk. And many people are scammed with this, and others just simply lose their money due to the force of business. So the better issue is how much control, if you go into one of these organizational $500,000, how much control do you have over your funds? And some give a lot, some don't give any. They have to give a little, I'll put it to you that way, because then you're not on a committee which can hold you out as an executive.
Mm-hmm. So that's what's happening here in terms of, this is called what, investment visa?
An investor.
Investor visa.
Yes.
And it has to be a certain area that has to qualify in order for you to invest.
50% more than the national average of unemployment.
50% more, okay. Well, that's a pretty good statistics here. As I understand, the District of Columbia qualifies that. I saw that
not
in the
only
newspaper.
not only does it now, it has always since.
It has always qualified it. Well, thank you very much, Attorney. It is a pleasure talking with you. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to us and enlighten all of our viewers about the immigration. Until next time, this is Frank Islam wishing you a great week. Thank you very much for watching.